Hello everyone, this is Aegis, and this is a third game, not the third game between WhiteRa and Dimaga. WhiteRa is spawning as the blue Protoss, and Dimaga spawning as the yellow Zerg. Again, it does look like this. Similar people are in the spectator list, so I can imagine that these games were played one after another. So I don't know if I still don't know if it was a series or a tournament. But again, WhiteRa and Dimaga, always amazing to watch. So WhiteRa is gonna go wall off, I guess, with his buildings at the front. This is on Blistering Sands, otherwise known as a map that I really don't like. I've actually blocked this map on my list when I play StarCraft. I really don't like the back rocks, especially because I play Protoss. Some people say that the back rocks are favorable to Protoss, being able to use the 4 warp gate, both back and front. But the 4 warp gate isn't something that I like to do, so you know, there you have it. Dimaga does look like he's going for the pool gas build or gas pool build first, before going for his natural expansion. Another annoying thing about this map is that it's really hard to take a third. There's these rocks here, there's this base here, but it's so close to the opponent's base. Also this base here, but it's so far away from your base. So it's really quite difficult to take a third base on this map. Also a reason why I do not like this map at all. Duckload getting his gateway up at the front of his base, gonna be walling off. Also getting his assimilator up, and it does look like Dimaga is getting his pool up finally. This Overlord checking to see if there's any funny business going on in his natural expansion. This probe is moving out there in anticipation of that expansion. WhiteRa getting his cybernetics core over here, not quite walling off with it. Perhaps he's opting to wall off with something else. We'll see what he decides to do real soon. We have Dimaga's Overlord moving over here. I do like the design of the Overlord, actually. It's got these huge eyes, or I assume to be huge eyes, and then these little hands. It does look like it should be able to pick something up. I wish Overlords, when they transported Ultralisks, they would hang down here just like a Thor. But I don't know the lore behind it. Maybe those legs are just weak, can't really hold an Ultralisk. But its stomach can, or something. I don't know. Chrono boosting out the Warp Gate research, always good for Protoss players. Dimaga getting his natural expansion up now after the pool and gas, as well as the speed research going down. WhiteRa scouting around to see if anything is going on. A second gateway coming up for WhiteRa. Still chrono boosting the warp gate research. I don't know if he's going for that 4 warp gate push there. We'll see if he does that real soon. We should be seeing additional gateways. Yeah, there we go. 2 more warp gates. So it does look like WhiteRa is going for 4 warp gate. He's going to want to put a proxy pylon down somewhere as soon as the warp gate research is finished, so that he can put the pressure on Dimaga. Dimaga is continuing to make those drones. Always good to have an awesome drone saturation. Gonna get the Roach Warren up. It will be ready for that 4 warp gate push. It'll just depend on whether or not he decides to make drones or roaches. He does have his natural expansion up. This is quite vulnerable for the 4 warp gate attack, because Protoss can easily bounce between here and here. As with any attacking player, easily Zerglings bounce here, take the rocks out, and then bounce over here again, and you never know where to position your army. WhiteRa gonna wall this off a little bit with the pylon, gonna prevent any Zergling run-bys while he does his 4 warp gate push. He even has a pylon here to be able to spawn units for his 4 warp gate. Dimaga getting the queen up. He needs to get that spine crawler out. He's getting a couple of roaches, Zerglings also on the way, but those will be a little bit delayed, the Zerglings, to deal with this push. Roaches spawning now. Duckload getting another proxy pylon up here. Going to be able to warp in units directly into the Zerg natural. A Zergling is going to start working on that. Zealots reinforcing them from the backside. The Zerglings are now spawning and trying to surround those Stalkers. Not quite able to do it. Gonna be pushing WhiteRa back a little right now. Additional units spawning for WhiteRa, trying to deal with these Zerglings here. He needs to get those Stalkers out to deal with the Roaches. The Roaches can basically micro forever against the Zealots. They're quite good against Zealots. This Queen also in the mix. Gonna be able to take that Queen out. Early loss for Dimaga. Dimaga is getting out those 12 Zerglings. Another Roach on the way. Will continue to spawn those Zealots to be able to tank the damage while the Stalkers deal the damage. However, those Zealots are high DPS units themselves, and Zerglings spawning here, getting into the fray, surrounding that Zealot, and forcing Duckload back to his proxy pylon once again. Additional Zealot spawning here, forcing Dimaga to make a lot of non-drone units. Spinecrawler now coming up. He does want to hold down his natural expansion, or else he will lose the game. Additional Roaches spawning from the main, moving down the ramp, trying to deal with these Stalkers. Trying to focus down that freaking Roach, and there it goes. And that Queen also, if he can take down another Queen, that would be such a heavy loss for Dimaga. If we look at the units lost tab, Dimaga just 50 minerals behind right now. Ducko continuing to put the pressure on with his Stalkers, trying to pick off units here and there. The Zealots moving forward to deal with those Zerglings once again, still spawning units up front. And this Zealot is actually rallied back. Maybe he's going for a retreat. I think he should try poking at on the backside as well. Maybe he'll be able to force some mistakes out of Dimaga. Duckload is now getting his second gas up. That Roach did get away with a good portion of health. WhiteRa continuing to put the pressure on, now getting some sentries out, be able to use them for retreats or to trap units up front so that the Zealots can kill them off without being microed against. WhiteRa doesn't have a very high probe saturation here, so it does look like he's started producing those probes once again. Additional Stalkers spawning here. Dimaga is still making Zerglings and Roaches. If Duckload can force enough of those units and hold down his natural expansion, he'll be quite a ways ahead. But he does need to kill his pylon in order to get out and expand. Dimaga not quite able to break out of there. WhiteRa is falling behind on the food count now. Dimaga continuing to spawn those Roaches, getting a drone here or there in the mix. Additional Spinecrawlers spawning here to be able to deal with the continued aggression. Now we do have Duckload working on the back rocks here, going to be able to open up a whole new attack path, and Dimaga has no idea. All he knows is about this force at the front. He doesn't see this going down, I think. Actually, he does, but he needs to be looking right at that in order to know that this is going down. That Overlord should see the Zealots marching into his base now. Dimaga hasn't quite reacted to it yet. He's still selecting his units. Now he does see it, that Overlord is positioned in a great spot for the Zerglings, and the Roaches working on that right now. Gonna force Dimaga's army to just run back and forth. Force field on the ramp, gonna prevent them from being able to reinforce the natural. Additional force field's gonna be able to prevent the Roaches and Zerglings from reinforcing it. Maybe be able to do a hatch snipe there. He needs more force fields going down. Zerg looks like he's marching through the backside, gonna do a surround on the Korkos army. Still trying to throw those force fields down. Great force fielding there. Going to be able to trap all of the units over here. The Roaches and Zerglings moving to the backside. It does seem like WhiteRa knows about this. He's still force fielding that ramp. Wants to keep the forces of Dimaga inside. It does look like these Roaches are going to reinforce from the backside. Sentries still have plenty of energy to keep force fielding that ramp, and even dealing damage a little bit over there. These Roaches that came over here are getting annihilated by the Stalkers. More force fields going down, and it does look like Dimaga has lost more stuff in this exchange, losing all of the stuff at his natural expansion. Not